Hello, my name is Andrea Uhede. I am one of the editors of this thematic issue, which discusses theoretical and practical questions regarding children's rights in education in different European countries, such as the Czech Republic, Germany, Ireland, and Scotland. The UN Convention on the Right of the Child is the most ratified international human rights treaty ever. To realize it raises several conceptual, practical, and also ethical issues. Additional challenges may arise in relation to children from the Roma minority in educational institutions.
State parties recognize the right of children to education, with a view to achieve this right progressively and on the basis of equal opportunity.
Nonetheless, Roma students frequently experience multiple forms of discrimination in education, which amplify the existing disadvantages.
Across Europe, there have been different rates of progress in terms of incorporating aspects of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child into domestic laws and put them into practice in schools and other education institutions. Our introduction article to this special issue provides a brief overview of some of the challenges in ensuring that the rights of Roma children are respected in schools, highlighting diverse practices in different countries.
Social justice in the education from the perspective of the Roma in the Czech Republic. In our text, we pose the question what tensions arise in the exercising of human rights in Roma education. We assume that much of the tension does not pertain solely to the Roma, but rather that it is a pan-societal phenomenon. The Roma are a vulnerable group in which the weakness of the system rights and social ethos are expressed in profound ways. We first analyzed the educational system and its limits, and then we characterized the tensions in access to education that exist for Roma pupils and their parents. We explored what schemes help Roma secondary school and university students exercise their right to education. Based on our results, how can we promote equal opportunities in education?
First, the individuality of young people needs to be encouraged, and they should be shown potential career paths that will bring meaning to their lives as individuals. The strategy of identifying with a role model still cannot be used here, because there are no role models of being successful in the dominant society. Individual motivation and providing opportunities to recognize one's own ambitions means providing support at the level of the government, its organizations, and non-governmental organizations, schools, and NGOs.
Second, parents need to be involved in the process so that they not only refrain from hindering educational ambitions, but even provide moral support to students.
Third, provision of financial and cognitive support can be delegated to institutions other than the family. However, such a support project would be essentially exclusivist and would only target individuals who were themselves able to recognize their ambitions and growth potential.
The fourth task is aimed at the dominant society and at ensuring that it operates on democratic and civic principles intrinsic to all members of society and all levels.
We would like to conclude by saying that the current situation, lockdown, online education, has had a negative impact on the fulfilling of educational rights of socially and economically disadvantaged pupils and students. This is mainly due to the underestimation of the living and material conditions of families by incumbent politicians. From our point of view, the government has been failing because it does not communicate sufficiently with the management in schools in order to support them in creating equal conditions for education.
Hello, I'm Professor Sheila Riddell from the Centre for Research in Education, Inclusion and Diversity, and the paper that I've written for the special issue of the journal focuses on inclusion and the rights of children and young people from Gypsy traveller backgrounds in Scotland. The Scottish Government is committed to incorporate all aspects of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child into Scottish domestic legislation. And so the paper asks questions about what that actually means for this group of children and young people who have often had their rights inadequately addressed. And this is particularly crucial, of course, at time of COVID-19, when internationally the rights of many, many groups have been neglected.
Hi everyone, my name is Gaetan Konya. I am currently writing a dissertation in the field of Romani culture and traveler culture, and I am a teaching fellow and a research assistant at the University of Bourgogne-Franche-Comté in France. I was given this opportunity to write an article in your special issue of the HERJ, focusing on the children's rights in European education. And since it was recently the 30th anniversary of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, the UNCRC, I chose to focus on 3 articles of this convention. Article 28, which is about the right to education. Article 29, which is about the goals of this education. And Article 30, which focuses on minorities. I personally looked into 2 communities, GRT children and our children of Irish travellers, who are not of the same backgrounds. Irish travellers are not Roma, but many bridges exist between their cultures, and in this field of education it was relevant to do so since they are minorities. They have a minority status within larger dominant groups, so they are both in the front line of the UNCRC battle. I looked more particularly in the implementation of those 3 articles in the several policies of 3 countries, Britain, Ireland and France, my country. And I wondered what's wrong with the education of these communities in the West, or at least in the 3 countries. Indeed, many data show that there is a huge gap between these communities and the rest of the population when it comes to absentee rate, for example, school exclusion, educational attainment, dropout rates, bullying, and underrepresentation of these groups in the school system. Recently, Richard Bruton, the Irish Minister for Education, announced, it was in 2018, 3 years ago, announced that traveller culture was set to feature in the school curriculum. So one part of the article was also to wonder what will this new curriculum look like. And in doing so, it seemed like Ireland was actually paving the way to restoring trust in the school system. And when you interview children of these communities who have been victims of discrimination, they all tend to say that they would like to be treated fairly and to trust the school system. They have lost faith and trust in the school system. So Ireland seemed to be paving this way in the matter, but it seems that it's only the beginning of it all. And I would like also to mention how critical this educational aspect is for the job market, because when you interview adults or young adults of these communities, they also say that the main obstacle for them to be treated fairly on the job market is their lack of qualifications. So everything seems to be starting there at school at an early age. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much again for giving me this opportunity to take part in this project. Thank you, and bye-bye.
My name is Alena Boutuk, and I am a research fellow and lecturer at the University of Education Freiburg in Institute for Educational Science, Department of International and Empirical Educational Research. 30 years have passed since Germany ratified the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child and is now on the verge of incorporating it into its basic law. This article, which will be published in the Hungarian Education Research Journal, is part of the special issue on the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. It takes a closer look at recent developments in strengthening children's rights in Germany, focusing on vulnerable children and youth, such as members of the Roma-minority, and their educational development. While some improvements have been made in education, the COVID-19 pandemic brought new dimension into play and exacerbated their vulnerable position. This study relies on document analysis and comparison of studies, which take into account factors such as school access, school performance, legal status, origin, period of migration, and children's living condition.